G'day guys, it's Rick from RC. Welcome to part 10 of the Let's Build a Plane series. Finally. Well, guess what? I finished the main wing. It's foldable, it's collapsible, it's the hinge wing. Here it is. It's coming up next. In this video I'm going to show you how we finalised the main wing with the servo cutouts and the hinge wing mechanism. So I'm just showing you there now how the wing has already been prepared with the aileron cutout, and that's just a brief glimpse of how it will sit on the fuselage. In my case that's the power pod. So there's room enough for the wing tie-down rods to stick out and protrude without anything else getting in the way. So you can work with your hands in between that to put the elastic bands in place, and I've done that to both sides of the wing halves, and now I'm preparing to actually install the servo. So that's how the servo will sit inside the wing when I make the cutout. It will fit flush with the underside. There's plenty of room if you use a 9-gram servo. That's the outline I've drawn on the underside of the wing, and now I'm preparing to cut out that section. So just using a ruler and a knife. It's very easy to cut through the foam, and I'm just going to cut out that square as I've drawn it, and just measuring that the servo will fit in that position nicely. So just making sure that it's wide enough and deep enough, and the length and the width have been measured appropriately. So taking out the excess foam there, that's what she looks like so far. I will finish digging out that foam to get to the underside of that wing, which is the inside canal or channel, or the interior of that wing, and there we have it. Just pulling out the excess there, and you will see that the hole that I've cut is pretty much ready to accept the servo. So just doing little trims here and there, taking out the excess, and that's what she looks like. So the servo is going to slide into that. I'm just going to do a test fit now. You can always cut a bit more if you need to. But I like mine to be nice and snug. And that servo, of course, will be held down with double-sided Scotch tape. So now I'm just going to do a test fit by feeding in the servo lead as if I was installing the servo itself. The servo lead's going through nicely, comes out the other end, and sticking out exactly where it should, which is the middle section of the wing half, which will join the other middle section of the wing half when I join the two wings together. And I can still add a servo extension lead to that as required. So that's the servo. I'm about to position it in place, and you'll see exactly how it goes in nicely. So it's sitting where it needs to, and I'm going to push that in now, and it's pretty much done after that. So it's a nice snug fit, and I will have double-sided Scotch tape underneath that to hold that in position. So that's just a test dry fit for now. That's how she goes, that's how she fits, that's how she looks. That's the first wing half. And I'm going to do the same thing to the second wing half, or the other wing half. So I'm measuring up equidistant for both wings so that it's all evenly spaced across both halves. Just drawing the outline, making the cut, and I will have a similar cutout shortly, which will be used to push in place the second aileron servo. Just pulling away the excess foam there, doing all the excess trimming. That's it, I've pulled out the paper and I'm pretty much done. I'll show you in a moment. And there it is. I've cut out the area for the second aileron servo to be put in position inside the wing. So I've done it to both wing halves now. And I'm going to feed in the other aileron servo. Do a test fit, and fits very well. That's exactly how I want it. And there will be double-sided Scotch tape underneath that after. So the servo lead's sticking out where it needs to, and there's room for me to add an extension servo lead if I have to. And I probably will add that extension lead. So now I'm just going to join the two wing halves together using the carbon arrow shaft, which is my spar, just to give you an idea of what the wing will look like from the underside with the two servos installed, the aileron servos installed, and the aileron cutouts near the center section of the wing where it will sit on top of the fuselage. Now I'm just using 9-gram servos. You can use whatever you like. You don't need anything more than that. Plastic or metal geared is fine. I've got plastic for the time being. But that's what it will be looking like once the servos are installed. So that part's done. So now before I do anything else, I'm just going to quickly do a test to make sure the servo is centered and works, of course. As you can see, it's moving nicely, equal distance on both sides of its movements. And when I add the control horn, that aileron will move up and down the way it should. So I've done it for that wing, just doing a quick manual test. It's working beautifully. And shortly I will do the same thing with the other wing half. So that's the second wing now. Just doing a manual test. It's moving nicely, exactly the way it should. I know the servos are working, and I know the servos are centered. So they're my aileron servos in place, ready to go. So that's how I hold the two wing halves together with a super lightweight carbon arrow shaft. I simply grab one of those, feed it in like so, halfway through, and then slide the other half into the other wing half, which I'm about to do now. And that will stop the two wings from folding during flight. So there's plenty of strength there, plus it keeps the wings straight and level when they're joined and connected. Just showing you the aileron cutouts there for where it will sit on top of the fuselage. And just doing a brief test fit to show you how it will sit on top of the fuselage. That's my power pod, which you've already seen in the previous video. So she'll sit on top like so. The aileron servo leads will be coming out over the top. That's how simple it is to take the two wing halves apart. Easy for transportation. Now what I'm showing you here is servo covers for the aileron servos. Instead of leaving them bare, I put some tape over each cutout. You can use the same colour tape if you have it, or you can use a contrast. I've decided to use a contrast. It's slightly raised because I've got double-sided scotch tape under each aileron servo, and by placing the tape on top of that, it actually creates a nice smooth airflow over that. So that's the second one. In position, taped over, and it's ready. Just have to add the control horn to both wings. And that's easy to peel off as required, and easy to put back on again. So now we're going to prepare to make this hinge wing mechanism that I've been telling you about. But prior to that, I'm going to first show you how we add on the wingtips to the end of both wing halves. So I'm not using winglets for this one. I'm actually going to glue on a wing tip. Now I've got a couple of wingtips pre-cut out already for this exercise, and I'll show you where they came from and how I made them in a moment. But that's how they're going to fit. So that will help stop any scuff marks on the end of the wing, stopping the foam from being directly hit or dented easily. And the hole is there so that the carbon arrow shaft can slide in and out as required. So I've made two of those, one for each wing half. And they will be glued on permanently in a moment, and I'll show you how I do that. I'm leaving them white. You can tape over them if you like, but I think that these ones leave a very nice contrast against the blue on top and the orange-brown underneath. So that's the first wing. That's how she looks with the wingtip on. And this is the second wing. So exactly the same process. I cut it to shape, and it's going to sit like that once it's glued in position. It's going to provide protection for the wing end, and it'll stop the foam from being directly dented or scraped or scratched, depending how you land. You know, we all come down a bit hard sometimes. Well, apart from looking rather good, it also provides extra protection as well. Now, what did I do to use, or what material did I use to make those wingtips? Well, this is what I used. This is one of those office signs or warehouse signs or factory signs you can buy from your local hardware store. I happened to buy this or get this from Bunnings. And all I've done is put the wing end over the end of that. I've laid it on top of that piece, traced around it, and then I've cut the wing tip to the shape of the airfoil to make those wing tip ends. As you can see, it's flexible, it's durable, but strong. And they will be glued on. You can get those with or without the eyelets, as you can see. And it doesn't matter about the signage. You're going to put them around the other way, or you're going to cover them with tape, so it doesn't really matter about the signage. But that's what I did. I put the wing down, I traced around it, and then I cut out the wing tip end like so. Very easy, very effective. And that's the piece that came from that sign that I showed you. Flexible, but strong and effective. And provides a nice white contrast. So I've made 2 of those, and they're pretty much now ready to be glued in position, which is what we're going to do next. So just doing another test fit. I'm going to use the old Gorilla Glue. That gives me time to position it into position, or position it into place, without it drying suddenly on me. So that's why I'm not using hot glue. But there's nothing wrong with hot glue, that will work also. So there's the glue. I'll spread that out evenly and flat in a moment. And I've put the wingtip end piece in place. That's what it looks like. In a moment, I'm going to secure that with some extra tape so it's held tightly in position while the glue is drying. Like so. Now the carbon arrow shaft is in place, so I know where the hole is, and I use it as part of my alignment process as well. And I'm about to do the same thing for the second wing half. So I've already glued it, and I'm going to tape it up. And these are the 2 wing halves pretty much completed, with the wing tips in place and taped until the glue dries. The wing tips are on, done, finished. Okay, so with the magic of time lapse, I'm now going to simply take the tape off, and you will see the finished, completed outcome, result of this wingtip. Now you might hear some background noise, which is the pitter-patter of rain when I was filming this. And there's nothing like doing a scratch build when you can't go flying. So that's what I'm doing here now. May as well be in the shed doing something, building, repairing, whatever. So I've taken the tape off the first wingtip, and that's what she looks like. It's rock solid, dry, in place, and there's a bit of a glue bubble there, which I'll take away and cut out afterwards, but adds a nice touch, a nice finishing touch, and protection for the edge of the wing. And that's the first one. And now I'm simply going to do the same to the second. I made sure the carbon arrow shaft wasn't glued in position. And okay, so I'm just demonstrating here now how the carbon arrow shaft, which is my spar, goes into the wing, and it's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. So I can join the other wing half to that in a moment. Slides in and out as required, the hole's in the right position. And that's the outcome. And you can take it all the way out. And you've got one wing half which you can transport very easily. That's the second wing half. I'm simply going to take the tape off this one. That is now dry and ready also. The rain's getting heavier, as you can hear in the background. One of those weeks in Melbourne when I was filming this. So when you can't fly, you build or repair. ready for the next sunshine. So taking the last piece of tape off now. And that's the second wingtip done, complete, in place, ready. Providing the protection to the wing tip end. If you scrape the edge of the wing when you're landing, or if you tip here and there, it won't dent the foam straight away either with that material. Plus it looks good. So just demonstrating again how the carbon shaft goes in nicely into that channel, and that's available and ready to add the other wing half to. Slides in and out exactly the way it was designed. And there are the two wing halves with the two wing tips in place. Done and dusted. As I said, you can use tape to cover over that, a contrast in colour if you wish, or you can leave it the way I have. I happen to like the white contrast. So here and now I am preparing to join the wing halves permanently with a wing hinge. So to do this I have to demonstrate how the carbon arrow shaft goes in. I think I've shown you that before anyway. This is how the two wing halves are held together. Now you won't have to assemble this at the field like this. This is just for the purpose of creating the wing hinge. After that, all you have to do is slide the carbon arrow shaft in and out, and then fold the wing, which I'll show you in a moment how we achieve that. So the wings will be joined like that, and the hinge mechanism will sit right in the middle of that. I'll show you how in a moment. So just aligning it all up. Now I'm going to be using some cloth tape to achieve this. Very, very strong, pretty much tear resistant. And that is going to be my hinge mechanism for the wing. And when it's in place, I'll show you in a moment, this wing will fold in half to close, and then you'll be able to open it up again as required when you're ready for flight. So I'm just cutting a piece to length, and this is where it fits and this is where it sits. Just aligning the two wing halves together, making sure they are accurate, and that's it. The two wings have been joined, and that's our hinge mechanism. Pretty simple really, and I owe all of this to Ed from Experimental Airlines. This is where I learned this from. So thanks Ed, you've been a great inspiration over the years, and I finally put most of what I've learned from you to the test. So there's a carbon arrow shaft holding those two wing halves together. Now I'm going to demonstrate how, by adding the second one into the wing, I'm going to push the first one into the other half of the wing half to release the hinge mechanism in the middle, so that the wing actually starts to fold in half, and you'll see what I mean in a moment. So there'll be a carbon arrow shaft in each wing. I'm using the other one to push the other one out checking if I've moved it enough. If not, just move it a little bit more, and there it is, it's starting to happen. So the wing is now ready to fold. So for transportation after flight, at the field, or for transportation ready for flight when you're going somewhere with this, you fold the wing in half like so. So the wingspan is half the length. Easy to put in the car, easy to put in the back seat, the front seat, the floor, whatever. Isn't that ingenious? I think so. I'm absolutely astounded at the way that works. It's a great idea, and the best part about it is it's a simple idea. So I'm simulating now putting the wing back together, opening it up to its full wingspan, and then I'm going to slide the carbon arrow shaft back in the middle of those two wing halves, which will hold that wing closed. I'm just moving the carbon arrow shaft into the wing now. So it is across both wing halves now. I can still move it in position to make sure that it's exactly half and half between each wing, which is what I'm doing here now. So stop about there. And that's a fully extended wing. It's not going to bend, it's not going to fold. Ready to put on the fuselage of the plane. It's ready for flight. How simple is that? Now, if you've got room and you don't need to make a folding wing, then more power to you. Unfortunately, I don't have the space. I have to do this. And this is a very easy way of doing it and achieving that. Now you can put a double layer if you wish. A single layer is more than adequate. Now what I'm going to do is cover the rest of that wing with the remaining tape, but there's a few other little insertions and reinforcements that I'm going to add, which I'll show you in a moment. This is how it basically sits on the fuselage as an open wing. So I'm just doing a test fit with the elastic bands, just to give you a demonstration on how you would set this up at the field. And there it is, it's ready. Now I will be providing some more gift card reinforcement where the elastic band pressure resides on the edges, and I'll show you that in a moment. And whilst the elastic band method is a bit old-fashioned, it does provide leeway for movement. You don't want it to be too rigid. There needs to be some give. So now I'm preparing to create those gift card reinforcements I was talking to you about on the wing, so that the elastic band will not press down on the edges and go through the foam over time. So you can use popsicle sticks or icy pole sticks, as we call them in Australia, and or you can use gift cards. I decided to use gift cards. That's how it's going to sit. There's going to be one on the trailing edge, and there's going to be one on the leading edge on both wing halves. It's pouring rain again. I'm sure you can hear that in the background. So I'm just making the measurements, forming the cutouts, looking at where it's going to sit, how it's going to sit. And that's the first one. Now, as I said, you can use a popsicle stick. I'm going to cover that with the cloth tape anyway, so you won't see it. It's not an ugly sight, but it doesn't matter how you choose to do it. You can use popsicle sticks. I just decided to continue using the gift cards. So that's the size I've decided to use in the end. And I'm going to put one on the other wing half as well. So one on each side. And then I have to still make one each for the leading edge. Just making sure the bend and the fold is adequate. Just making the second one now after I've perfected the first one with the appropriate measurements and the cutout. Just showing you my straight edge and my little mini clamps. This is how I make them. That's done. Just bend that over in position. I'm going to cut that to size so it matches the first one. And they will sit there nicely, ready to accept the pressure of the elastic bands when I pull them over and hold them down using the wing tie down rods. So they're the two, ready to go. That's how they're going to sit. I'll tack those down later and then I'll take them over so you won't see them. Pouring rain, I'm sure you can hear. What else can you do when it's pouring rain? Keep building, I say. Keep building, keep preparing. Well, that's what I'm doing. So just doing a test fit over the fuselage or the power pod. And it's working nicely. It does what it's supposed to do. The foam will never get dented or pressed down over time with those two pieces in position. And now I will prepare to cut out one each for the leading edge section as well. Just going through the motions of deciding how I'm going to do this, creating a bit of a nice airfoil bend so it matches the shape of the wing, cutting it to size. Doesn't need to wrap right around the leading edge, just has to go over the end of the leading edge where the elastic bands apply the pressure. Just testing the first one. Now I'm going to do a test fit by positioning the main wing on top of the power pod or the fuselage. And I'm going to put the elastic bands back in position to simulate installing the wing. And I'm just going to insert the gift card and get an idea of where it should sit exactly. And I'm working out how long and how wide I'll actually keep it. Now the good thing about some of this reinforcement is I'm actually providing some additional default weight to the front section of the plane. So my centre of gravity should actually be okay by the time I'm finished with all this without having to add additional third-party weight. Okay, so I've done the two extra pieces. That's what they look like. And that's what I'm going to tack down and tape over as my reinforcement. You won't see any of that, but it will provide the extra strength that I've been talking about when you apply the elastic bands over the wings to hold it down against the fuselage. So just tacking down the trailing edge pieces. Doesn't need to be glued down completely. I'm just tacking it down. And I'm going to do the same thing with the leading edge pieces. Putting the leading edge reinforcement pieces in position. Dab of hot glue just to tack it down. That's the first one. I'm going to basically do the same thing to the second one. And then all of that will be taped over. You don't have to go this far. Like I said, you can use popsicle sticks. I just decided rather to use this method. And that's pretty much ready and complete. I will be ready shortly to tape over all of that, and you will never know that I've got some gift card reinforcement over any of that. So here I go with the additional cloth tape. Now I like to put the cloth tape right across the center section up to the ailerons. You don't have to, whatever you think's necessary. But you'll see how I've done mine in a moment. Just going through the motions of aligning the tape correctly, getting rid of all the wrinkles, so you end up with a nice smooth finish, and a strong finish actually. So this is not the hinge mechanism, guys, this is just the tape to cover up the gift card reinforcement. Now I would have done this part anyway with the tape, even if I didn't have the gift card reinforcement. The tape provides a little extra strength over and above anyway. Especially in the center section, where the elastic bands are going to go. That's what the first half looks like. And with the magic of time lapse, I'm going to show you what the second half looks like in a minute. And that's the second half done. Both wing halves are complete. With the tape over the entire section, middle section of the two wing halves. And the beauty of all this is that that wing will still fold in half when I'm ready. Easy for transportation. And if you want, you can still put another one on the back to reinforce the hinge mechanism. Now I may or may not do that, it's not absolutely necessary. But that's what it looks like. Now I'm just inserting the carbon arrow shaft once again. It's going to be a common sight at home or at the airfield as you assemble and disassemble the plane for transportation. Here we go, I've released the other carbon arrow shaft into the second half of the wing half, and my wing has folded in half, ready for transportation. Easy peasy, very effective. And it opens up again into a full wing as required. That's what she looks like underneath. That part will sit on top of the fuselage. Very nice hinge mechanism. Very strong too. So that's my main wing. Complete. Just pushing the carbon arrow shaft so that it's crossing both wing halves. And making sure it's exactly in the middle of both wing halves. And there she is. That's my main wing, ready to go. Another test fit on top of the power pod or the fuselage piece. Wrapping the elastic bands around it to simulate setting it up. Ready for flight. And there you have it. The gift card reinforcement in place. You can still whack another 2 or 3 elastic bands. There's still plenty of give without being too loose. And that's not going anywhere. And it won't fold in flight either. The carbon arrow shaft will ensure that doesn't happen. That's it. It's done. It's ready. Finished. That's the wing, boys and girls. So once again, I'm going to put this carbon arrow shaft into the wing half, push the other one out and into the second wing half so that I release the 2 wing halves so that they're ready to fold, like so. Done. My main wing is finished and complete. And that's the hinge wing mechanism. I hope you've enjoyed that. And stay tuned for the next and final video.